Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina and DHEC's Division of Diabetes and Heart Disease Management.
Tre Tailor.
Good afternoon, I'm Tre Tailor, and welcome to Wellness Wednesday from In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina. Today, we're coping with men and their connections. It's Men's Health Month, and we have been having all types of conversations with men this month. And today, we're talking with Dr. Kenneth Rogers. He is director of the Department of Mental Health. He joins us with some of his friends that he talks with weekly. Richard Dawkins, who's with the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, Greenville Tech. Clifford Bartley, manager of Dangerous Goods and Matson Navigation. Brian Jones also joins us, along with Adrian Collier, who's owner of Collier Diversified Solutions, and Abel Bartley, who is professor of African American history at Clemson University. Gentlemen, thank you all so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. We look forward to a great conversation. That's coming up next. Then we'll find out about the practice of Reiki and its health benefits. Tina Phillips with No Shame Counseling and Reiki joins us today on Wellness Wednesday. Tina, always great seeing you.
Thank you so much for having me. So nice to see you again, Tre.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. That and more coming up next on Wellness Wednesday from In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina. But first, your COVID community updates. Yesterday, runoffs were held in South Carolina, and some of the results include the Republican ticket Ellen Weaver won to run for State Department of Education. Also in the U.S. Senate, Democrat race, Crystal Matthews will face the Republican Tim Scott in the November general election. Richland County 11 Democrat Chaquise Newton won over Norman Jackson. For more information and for more results, visit the State Department of Elections website. SCDHEC has your most up-to-date list of times, dates, and location for COVID testing in and around South Carolina. Visit scdhec.gov for a complete list of times, dates, and locations, including the children's shot for kids under 5, from 6 months to 5. Also, scrolling at the bottom of the screen throughout the show, you'll see all types of information, resources, including where you can get 5 free rapid self-tests by logging into covidtest.gov. Also, COVID vaccines at the VA for veterans. You'll also see information about what retail outlets offer a COVID vaccination. That includes Kroger pharmacies, CVS, and also Walgreens, who's additionally offering free N95 masks. You'll also see information about the Comet bus system in Columbia, South Carolina, where not only you can catch a ride for free to get your COVID vaccination, but they're also offering COVID vaccinations Tuesday through Saturday at their main location at the corner of Sumter and Laurel Streets. Now, if you or someone you know is having a challenge making their appointment because they're a little technologically challenged, they can register at Get Set Up. Call that number and they can help you get set up. Also, FEMA has COVID funeral reimbursement information. If you lost a loved one due to COVID, they are giving reimbursement for funeral expenses. SC Bar Association and SC Legal Services has a toll-free number and website to assist you with your rent and your mortgage help. Also, additionally, throughout the state of South Carolina, there is more help. Lexington County has a bill assistance program. SC Housing and Dominion Energy has a rental and utilities assistance program. And SC Hopes has a 24-hour assistance line from the South Carolina of Mental Health. If you or someone you know is coping with COVID or coping with life in general, SC Hopes can help. Now, over at the Brooklyn Banquet and Conference Center, the Empowerment Center, they're having a Young Entrepreneurs Shark Tank competition this Friday. There'll be for ages between 7 and 25. You can stop by there and join these young entrepreneurs in their Shark Tank competition, root them on, and find out about the amazing things that is going on with our young people in the state of South Carolina. I'm Tre Tailor, and you are watching Wellness Wednesday from In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina. We are streaming live on the In It Together Facebook page. Please go over there, hit like and share and follow. Not only will you be able to get notifications as to when to watch Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, but you can also find out how to get a diabetes prevention program. There are several throughout the state, and they've got more information about how you can live well, eat well, and also get help managing your diabetes. We're also streaming live on the In It Together YouTube channel. Please go over there and hit the subscribe button. Again, all types of resources are located on that channel. Now, we're also streaming live on the TailorMade production page on Facebook. That's the home of Coping with COVID and Coping with Tre Tailor. Again, go over there, hit like and share and follow, and get all of your COVID-related updates. We're also streaming live on the TailorMade production Tre Tailor YouTube channel. Now, there we have over 2 years of interviews, resources, and information available on coping and coping with COVID. We also have a presence on Instagram and also on Twitter. In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor. And don't forget, if you've got a comment, you can please post it and we will get it to our guests. Coming up, we are going to talk with a panel of gentlemen who have been talking on a regular basis via Zoom since the pandemic. And we're going to talk to them about men and how they connect. But first, we're going to talk with Tina Phillips. She is with No Shame Counseling and Reiki. And we're going to talk now about the health benefits of Reiki. Thank you, Tina, so much for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Tre. Good to be here.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. First of all, tell us what Reiki is.
So Reiki is an energy healing and balancing that happens if you think about your 7 chakra zones. So that these are like your crown, your spirit or third eye, your throat, your heart, your sacral, your solar plexus, and then your root. All of these things make us who we are. And we also have all sorts of different flows, or we should have one flow in our whole body. But sometimes what happens is things happen, whether it's a physical ailment or even if there's a spiritual or emotional wound that happens, and we get blockages in different chakra zones and also in different places in our body. And so Reiki is a practice where it comes in and we move blockages and we restore a healthy flow based on what works well for you.
Right. A lot of people, you're talking about energy and flow, and someone may say that sounds like a lot of hocus pocus. Tell us a little bit about the origins of Reiki and the validity.
Well, really, when you think about it, Reiki is, it basically means, so Rei means universal and Ki basically means life energy. And so it was developed, this has been around in years over in the eastern part of the world, and centuries even. And it has been a very popular and very healthy and helpful practice. And actually here in the United States now, just about every children's hospital in America has a Reiki practitioner on staff. And it is even reimbursable through with most insurance plans if you're in the hospital, because they have definitely noticed and are now acknowledging the health benefits of Reiki on a physical, spiritual, as well as emotional level. And this is from a scientific perspective. And so what we're seeing is it's very similar to if you feel like when you go into church, if you feel like that's a helpful thing for you, for someone to lay hands on you, or for someone to sit with you through something, it's a very similar experience to that, or it can be for some people. Here we also add in the elements of aromatherapy, as well as it's a whole vibe, it's a whole mood, right? So we definitely add in aromatherapy, which is also helpful. And then we also add in the component, I'm a licensed therapist as well. So afterwards, when we're processing what all has come up, it's a great space for people to be able to share some of their experiences and to be able to release some of the things that they've been holding on to. So very much like how massage is helpful for removing toxins in our physical body, if you could think Reiki is going to be like a spiritual and emotional massage for you.
Right. Tina Phillips joined us. She's with No Shame Counseling and Reiki. And Tina, I'll tell you, we're having a little bit of problem with your audio. It's sounding a little distorted, but yeah, it looks like it goes in and out, but we're going to keep rolling with it. In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council presents Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. And we're talking about the health benefits of Reiki with Tina Phillips with No Shame Counseling and Reiki. So Tina, you said a little bit at first about it's energy. Tell us how it's done.
So basically, we have a room here. And I think when I was on the show the last time, there was a video actually that was taken of me actually doing Reiki. But so you lay on a table, just it's a massage table. And basically, what I'm doing is I'm directing the energy in your body using my hands to these different zones. And so when there's a blockage in your body, especially a physical blockage, it causes almost like just like if there's an accident on a highway, it causes a backup in that area. And so when there's a backup, I'll be able to feel that backup when that energy is kind of balled up in one space. So I know today you're talking with men a lot, or we're talking about men. And so a lot of men, especially Black men, are holding in a lot. Because that's the way our culture and society, and as well as our family influence, has taught that they are not allowed to have emotions or allowed to feel. And so a lot of times with Black men, where I'm feeling a lot of the backup is in their shoulders, because when you think about carrying stuff, right? So a lot of people feel that in their shoulders, and then also in their root and their solar plexus. So when I have not been able to show emotion, when I have not been able to express my feelings, when I have not even been able to feel, and it also has been, everything has to be, I have to fit into a box in terms of what is appropriate for me, what is acceptable for me as a man. A lot of times you see that backing up in their identity or their root chakra. So a lot of times we're having to do a lot of work in those areas, just hovering our hands over that area and allowing their own energy to come in and remove those blockages.
Right. So you're doing that. How long is this typical session?
Our initial sessions are about 75 minutes, and then each session thereafter is 60 minutes. So we have some people who come for Reiki once in a lifetime. We have some people who come once a year, and then I have people who come every 3 weeks, which is the amount of time that you have to have in between Reiki sessions.
Who should do Reiki, Tina?
Anybody who feels drawn to it. You do have to go through a teaching process. So, which I'm a master Reiki practitioner. So we also have classes here to teach people how to do Reiki. We have group as well as individual classes. So I can teach you to do Reiki, and then I can also teach you to teach Reiki.
Right. I mean, like, okay, so who should have Reiki done? Maybe I'll ask it that way. Who should have Reiki done?
Oh, okay. Anybody who wants to do. So my ideal patients kind of look like either people who are just feeling like something is off. I have a lot of patients who are dealing with, who are challenged with physical challenges like cancer. And I also have people who are dealing with things, high blood pressure, diabetes, emotional traumas that they haven't been able to release, a lot of grief, a lot of times grief that has not been able to come up. We are so good as humans at pushing things down, like putting beach balls underwater, and eventually they're going to shoot up. So this is kind of a safe space to release that. So anybody that's having those people who are dealing with, I'm feeling pulled in a direction spiritually, or I have questions about things spiritually, or even I've dealt with some hurt spiritually. So this is really, I think Reiki is helpful and beneficial for everyone. I've never had anyone come in where it did not work for them. We do offer specialized discounts for what we call emotional first responders. So these are people like teachers, counselors, people, clergy, our regular first responders like law enforcement, those sorts of things, because a lot of times we tend to take on more people's stuff emotionally. So Reiki is really great for them as well.
I'm glad that you mentioned, heart disease, blood pressure, because of course we're sponsored by In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council. So I want to ask, what are the health benefits to coming to a Reiki practitioner on a regular basis?
Well, there have been lots of studies on this. Even Harvard has done studies on Reiki, and basically what they find is that when you come, they see a significant reduction in blood pressure. And then over time, I think they did a study where it was a 3-year study. They saw a significant reduction in A1C levels for people who consistently had the Reiki done on them. And I think that is two-pronged. I think it's a lot of things. So it does absolutely have physical benefits, because it is a time where you are stopping and you are pausing, and we focus a lot on our breath in this space, right? So it's definitely a stress reducer, which we know stress definitely plays into diabetes as well as heart disease and cancer and lots of other diseases. So we're seeing that. But the other piece of that is a lot of times when we're thinking about self-esteem and we're thinking about worth and we're thinking about what we hold in, we know that a lot of times physical ailments are a manifestation of things that have been overlooked or disregarded or avoided emotionally and things on a spiritual and emotional basis. Automatically our physical, we're going to see some physical benefits off the bat from that as well. So I think it's kind of you get to see the benefits from two different directions.
Right. Tina Phillips joins us with No Shame Counseling and Reiki, and It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. Tina, we are losing your audio, and I'm not quite sure why. Yeah, it's hard to understand what you're saying, and you're kind of going in and out. But we would love, I love you, girl. So I would love to have you back when the Reiki, when the energy aligns better. So
I guess so.
And it may be the thunderstorms that are going on, but it's a little difficult to hear you. So we're going to get you rescheduled so that you can come on and talk more about Reiki. But thank you so much for joining us today on Coping with COVID from It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council. That was Tina Phillips with No Shame Counseling and Reiki. Coming up next, we're going to talk with some gentlemen who decided to come together right after the pandemic and talk, just guide talk, every single week. We're talking about men in communications as we have been highlighting Men's Health Month and highlighting different aspects of being a man. And coming up next, we'll talk to a couple of men and how they communicate. That's next on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor, and you're watching Wellness Wednesday from It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Carolyn Sawyer, an entrepreneur and caregiver. Part of taking care of your health is knowing if you're at risk of type 2 diabetes. Prediabetes is serious and puts you at risk for developing type 2 diabetes. Up to 90% of South Carolinians who have it don't know they have it. Visit inittogethersc.org. Take an online test to find out your risk and join a diabetes prevention program. This message brought to you by the Diabetes Action Council of SC.
Computers, they're a part of our everyday life, but when they're not working, they're an everyday problem. So call Computers Unique, your everyday solution. 803-351-5821. Is your computer running slow? Won't turn on? Do you need a screen replaced? Or maybe you just need another computer? Well, Computers Unique is your one-stop shop for all your computer needs. They have a wide variety of new and pre-owned PCs, Macs, and tablets. So call Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall, 803-351-5821. 803-351-5821.
Hi, I'm Master Deputy Addie Perez with the Richland County Sheriff's Department Community Action Team. As a mother, I know it's important to take care of my health for those I care about. Part of doing that is knowing my risk for developing type 2 diabetes. So if I was you, I'll take the opportunity to visit inittogethersc.org and take an online test to find out if you have prediabetes. Again, the website is inittogethersc.org. This message is brought to you by the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina.
In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor. Hey, don't forget, we are streaming live on the In It Together Facebook page and their YouTube channel. Please go over there, hit like, share, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel on that Facebook page and on their website. They've got all types of great resources available, including healthy eating, healthy living, exercising, and more importantly, how to find a diabetes prevention program. This is a program that you can join in person or virtually throughout the state of South Carolina that can help you along your diabetes journey. Do something for yourself so that you can live and have a better quality of life, and join a diabetes prevention program from In It Together SC. We're also streaming live on the home of Coping with COVID and Wellness Wednesday. It's the Tailor-Made production page on Facebook. Please also go over there, hit like and share and follow. And not only will you be able to get notifications when we go live every Wednesday for Wellness Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, and then for Coping with Tre Tailor, which is Thursday and Friday at 2 p.m. We're also streaming live on our YouTube channel. Please hit the subscribe button and find almost 2 years of resources, interviews, and information available. And then, of course, we also have a presence on Instagram and also on Twitter. Well, it's Men's Health Month, and we continue our series about men on various topics. Today, we're coping with men and their connections. Dr. Kenneth Rogers, who is the director of the Department of Mental Health, has been on the show several times. And thank you, Dr. Rogers, for joining us. A couple of times that you have been on the show, or I've had a conversation with you, when you've talked about men and health and their connections, you mentioned to me that you have a group of friends that you guys talk on a regular basis, that you guys have had Zoom meetings around right after the pandemic. We're going to be joined by a couple of those guys. But before we do, tell me why that was important for you.
You know, I think one of the things that happens with COVID, anytime you're isolated, is really not having a place to relieve stress, to find people that really understand you, can hear what you're saying, can provide encouragement, etc. And so, you know, I look forward to every Saturday morning at 8 o'clock being online with these brothers, because they bring out the best in me. They give me a place to really fully be the authentic me. I don't have to be somebody totally different. I can be Ken. I don't have to be the public Dr. Rogers. And I think that, you know, having that outlet has really been something that has helped me, and I think has helped the entire group.
Right. Well, let's find out. Clifford Bartley joins us. He's a manager of dangerous goods at Matson Navigation. Also, Brian Jones, who is a manager of repair representative at a local insurance company. We're also joined by Abel Bartley, professor of African American history at Clemson University, and Damon Turner. Do I have everybody? I think I've got everybody on, right? Is everybody on? Hey, thank you, gentlemen, so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. So let me ask you, you heard Ken say that this was important for him, that you guys connect because you just needed an outlet. Was it the same for all of you? Brian, what about you?
Well, given the fact that I live in Phoenix, Arizona, I get up at 5 a.m. to get on the call every week.
So obviously that's a big
very important. And I have to second what Dr. Ken said. You know, it is a space for us to have great conversations, to let out some of our concerns. We pray for each other, and we're tell what we're thankful for also. But it is just a great space for me to speak with other men about some of the issues that we have as men.
Right. Whose idea was it to do this, Damon?
That would be Abel Bartley. I'm a former student of Abel Bartley. I live in Baltimore, Maryland. So I'm connected with this South Carolina family through Abel Bartley, and got a chance to learn about these new ideas about men coming together and discussing issues that we have. And it's a safe space for Black men. And that's why I think it really is a safe space for Black men to come together and discuss issues about health, family, love, trust. We can be vulnerable in these spaces.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some of the things that you talked about. And Damon, if you would take yourself off mute, unless you have something going on behind you, I would appreciate it. Abel, Damon said that you brought him into the fold, so to speak. So you guys didn't know each other previously.
Actually, all these people, for the most part, we were part of a church family, with the exception of Damon and my brother Cliff. But we had this group that we come together on Saturday mornings before and pray. And then once COVID, you can't do that anymore because, you know, and so we went on Zoom, and I invited them to invite other people. And so we began to grow the group, and we've had people from all over who have been part of this group, because like they say, it's a safe spot, safe place. You don't have to be, I don't have to be Dr. Bartley. I don't have, I'm just, in my opinion, my 2 cents is not worth any more than anybody else's 2 cents. And that's what I like about it. We get together and we chat, and it's just men talking.
Right. So Clifford, your brother brought you into the group. Who decides what the conversation is about?
Well, we kind of flow depending on what the issues are at the moment and at the time, and even sometimes it leads from individuals with personal issues that they need to discuss. There's nothing new under the sun, and consequently, we've got older as well as younger people on the group in the group. Consequently, we can all share, and when we share equally, we help each other to grow and understand that we're all one people.
Right. Adrian, are you, is this common, do you think, for guys to discuss these types of deep topics?
I would say no. That's my personal opinion. I would say no. And because typically, as far as the guys I know, we tend to hold and harbor a lot of different things. We tend to go through a lot of things privately. And that's what's so special about this group. It's such a safe space where we can converse and talk about different things. And, you're talking to someone who just recently lost his mom. Yeah, individual very close to his mom. And this group of guys has been very instrumental in that process of helping me.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of those things. So Adrian, I'm so sorry to hear about your mom. Having lost my mom too. I'm in the, don't have living parents club, similar to you. So when you lost your mom, did everyone know? And was that one of the topics that came up that Saturday morning?
Yes, it was. It actually, prior to my mom actually passing away, unfortunately, that's the thing. We talk about different things. Like we'll talk about what we're challenged with, or what we're going through. And before we end each call, we pray for those particular things specifically. So they was already aware of her condition, that she was sick, and what I was going through emotionally. So the emotional support was already there prior to her passing away. So
that had to be instrumental in your healing process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yes. Can any one of you share what it is like every week, just being able to have some place as a man to just, again, be yourself in a world? And you tell me, is there not a safe place for you to go other than this in this tumultuous world that we're living in? And anybody can chime in.
Well, I'll jump in. Even I'm married, and I've been married for 30 some years, and most of these guys on here are married. Even your wife won't understand some of the things that you go through, especially as a Black man, but we can get together. We know what it is to be Black in America as a man. And so we can discuss those issues from our perspective. And we're all from different places. We come together on this line, but we get to give our perspective and hear other people's perspective. And it definitely helps us to get some relief. Sometimes we're thinking a different way, and to help us to change what we're thinking sometimes. And we can do what we can to help other people on the line also.
Yeah, Brian, I want to get to that conversation about men and their conversations with women in just a minute. But In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council, which I'm sure you all have plenty to say, and we want to hear. In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor, and we've been talking about men with various topics this month in commemoration of Men's Health Month. Today, of course, we're coping with men and their connection Massachusetts. Dr. Kenneth Rogers, director of the Department of Mental Health, joins us with the friends that he talks to every Saturday morning. Clifford Bartley, who is a manager at Dangerous Goods at Matson Navigation. Brian Jones is a manager, repair representative of an insurance company. He's out of Phoenix. Adrian Collier, owner of Collier Diversified Solutions. Abel Bartley, professor of African American Studies at Clemson University. And also Damon Turner join us today. Where do men go when they're not like you and have some place to go? Anybody?
This almost sounds like the story of the barbershop. You know, guys used to go to the barbershop and they would share but you know, with COVID, the barbershop kind of went to the side because of all the controls that you had there. But using these modern day Zoom and other platforms, we're able to communicate with each other as well as see each other and still be able to share and voice our feelings and so forth. So
yes,
this has been good.
Yeah, I was going to mention the barbershop. I mean, for women, it's definitely the beauty salon. But I mean, I think we had probably maybe a couple of more outlets. Guys, I know that the barbershop, I mean, we have been able to, particularly, I think, as a community of color, solve all the world's problems while somebody's got a scissor on our head. You know what I'm saying? Right. So I want to know, how has that affected men and their communication when now there are more restrictions on us coming together? I think it's obviously lessened up. But Damon, how has that affected not only you, maybe not as much because you have these gentlemen, but your peers?
Well, I think the idea with Zoom, because of COVID, there's new spaces that we didn't have. So this is actually a new space that we didn't have before COVID, when Dr. Bartley created this Zoom connection of young men together. And I think, one of the things we probably would never have is the age difference. We have people from almost 80 to 30 something in our group. And that's one thing I don't think even in a barbershop, you really get that same connection. So you actually get new experiences that you didn't have before.
Yeah. Abel, do you think more men are or will utilize this technology to connect?
I really think so. I mean, we average about 14 to 16 men each week. And we're talking about men getting up on Saturday morning at 8 o'clock.
5 o'clock for Brian.
Right. I mean, that right there tells you that this is important. And a lot of guys say that it's the most important hour of the week. I mean, they say that this is the most important because it's when my wife had the first kid, I went through all the birthing things. They talk about that cleansing breath after you go through a long period, then you take the cleansing breath. And that's what this week, it allows you to clean off the week and just chat with the fellas and it gives us an opportunity to refresh, recharge our batteries, and we're ready for the week.
Yeah. You mentioned, Damon, that this is particularly special because you have a cross section of ages and professions and experiences. How important is mentorship to each of you gentlemen? Because we look at a generation of young people that are experiencing some things that maybe many of us have not, and really, I think, need some mature guidance, mentorship, conversation. How and you guys have done a great job, Abel, of as you say, Damon, connecting, doing an intergenerational connection. But Brian, how important is this to you as a man, as a Black man?
Can I say something on that?
Yeah.
Because I want to say something real important. If you read those titles and look at each of us, we have special talents that we bring. And there have been people who had accidents, and so Brian's able to tell us, what's the next step with the accident. We have people who, when the supply chain was messed up, we could jump on Cliff and say, why you ain't got the chips run. We it's a chance for us to pick each other's brains on things that we're not experts on, but then to learn more about it. I mean, we get free mental health from Ken. I mean, this is really a one-stop shop each week where we get spiritual help, we get mental help, we get personal help. And I think that's when you talk about mentoring, even no matter how old you are, if you have a car accident, you don't always know what's the next step with the insurance. Well, Brian, and that's what I think also is very important.
Oh, I definitely agree. And that's why I say this is such a beautiful hodgepodge of men. And that's why I said not only from the age difference, but the experiences, the backgrounds. And so that's why I asked, how important is this for you guys to take this off of Zoom and into our community, to our young people that need it so much?
Well, it's very important. A lot of times they'll tell you I talk about my children. So I have grown but not grown kids. So my daughter is 21 and my son is 30. And that's a lot of what we deal with as men. So we deal with work, we deal with our families, we deal with our children, and getting some perspective each week and how to deal with a lot of those life situations is so important, because nobody on here knows it all, but we know what we know.
Yeah.
I don't know what each of the other person knows. So, getting some perspective about how to deal with my grown, air quotes, children, and then being able to use some of that, during the week when I speak to them, is so important, because all of us need some help in different areas of life.
Yeah, definitely. That's Brian Jones. He's joining us from Phoenix. He is part of this Saturday morning Zoom group of men from all walks of life. Ken Rogers also joins us, along with Clifford Bartley, Damon Turner, Adrian Collier, and also Abel Bartley. When sensitive subjects come up, how are you all able to process or handle if one of you is having an issue or concern about something? And Adrian or Clifford, do you want to jump in?
Well, as I pointed out earlier, there's nothing new under the sun, and especially a few of us older guys who are on the part of the group. Many things we've experienced, and we can kind of tell where the path leads based on our own personal experiences. Whether it be family issues, whether it be children issues, whether it be a lot of the issues, we can bring the actual experience that we have lived through and provide that as insight and also guidance to the younger group. Again, there's nothing new. So if you just wait long enough, as my mom used to always say, just keep a living, you'll experience it.
Yeah. So is that what it is, Ken? And you're the mental health guy. Abel mentioned, free mental health services through you. But and we've talked about this before, how challenging it has been to get men, to get African Americans, to get people of a certain age into seeing a mental health professional. Are you able to share from a mental health perspective to open ears in this group?
Well, I will say that nobody gets free mental health counseling. We all barter and share our gifts. And so I think that I get just as much from the group as they would get from me. I mean, I look at this group of guys, and I've learned so much from each of them. So my son crashed his car a couple of weeks ago, 4 days after we bought the car.
Well, that's Brian's.
And so right. So it was really interesting, that Brian can give me feedback on this is what you really need to think about as you're going through this situation. And so I think a lot of mental health, or what we traditionally think of as mental health, is really about relationships. Do we have the relationships to support us through difficult times? That's 90% of mental health in this world. And I think that as a group, we're able to provide that. I think about, different people where they are at various points in life. Adrian, for example, has young kids. It's actually pretty neat to get a chance to talk about young kids and fatherhood and reminiscing and those kinds of things, which might be helpful to him, but is also grateful to me to be able to think about gee, I'm glad I'm not in that situation anymore. and Adrian can have it for now. But I think that safe space, the ability to talk about things is really great. And you were talking earlier about sensitive topics. At this point, I'm not sure what a sensitive topic actually is, because as Cliff said, there's nothing new under the sun.
Right.
If you're going to talk about it, if it's happening, it's already happened at some point in time, either biblically or history. And I got the Bible people, I got the history people enabled to be able to talk about it.
Yeah. I want to say hi to Richard Miner. He says this sounds like a good group. Ken Davis says, fellas, thank you guys so much, and women, for all so much for joining us. Please post and share this broadcast out so we can get the message to the masses. Want to bring up a couple of topics and get you guys feedback on it, just to piggyback on something we talked about earlier. What about communication with women? Listen, it is no David, you're cracking up over there, so I have to come to you first. It is no secret that men and women have a communication challenge. And we love y'all. We love you, Black men. But we just need to know, how do we effectively communicate with you? Adrian, I'm gonna put you you the baby of the bunch. I'm gonna put you out there first.
Okay. I would say, yeah, being the youngest of the group, I have this good, distinguished group of gentlemen. They've been there, done that, and still doing it. So I would say women, Black women, we all love Black women. We love you guys as well. We love you guys. And I would say it's just taking time to understand the needs of a man. Like when we're to listen to what we're saying. Like sometimes I think women, just honestly, sometimes they can be in their own head. And they hear you speaking or saying something, you're trying to explain something, but they don't really understand, if that makes any sense. They're not really getting it, with something in the back of their mind where they already have a certain thought. Like once the person has a certain thought in their head, it's kind of hard to get them out of their own head, and where you're trying to reason with them, so my take, what I would do, I just, I try to exhibit Christ-like behavior. I just lead in love. I lead in love, no matter what the case is. It just brings it back around. And it's been many a times where my wife, she'll say, man, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I understand, and they'll just apologize. So sometimes, even if the woman you feel your woman is not doing exactly what's needed, sometimes you just got to lead in love and just take the lead as a man. Right. And you just hope and pray everything comes back, aligned properly as it should.
Yeah. Damon, what do you wish women knew about a Black man?
It's kind of interesting. Abel, Bartley, Dr. Bartley, and myself, we sometimes share war stories about, the beauty of marriage. And
but it's a war story, though.
the ending of the story. But that's an interesting question you present. I think if Black women and Black men really understood themselves, the question you asking, that would solve a lot of issues, but it's still a mystery up there with the Sphinx and how pyramids built and other things like that. It's understanding. That's a big thing. We talk about our wives sometimes on our Saturday morning conversation. Sometimes you talk about.
I never talk about my wife. She's the worst person.
Look, Abel said don't put him in that.
Hey, truth be told, we just gotta keep it quiet. Can't none of us say what we really think right now. and that's keeping it real.
That's right. Keep it real, because women want to know, including your wives. go ahead. Give it up. Turn it loose. Come on with it.
We all trying to be safe right now. We got to go home tonight.
I have a couple of 18-year-old granddaughters, and I oftentimes utilize some of the older songs of the 60s to help them see through object lesson, like Take Time to Know Her.
Yeah.
Let them listen to those types of songs so they can see what they need to look at. I've been married for 44 years, and I love my wife, and we complement each other. There are things and skill sets that I bring to the relationship that is different from hers and vice versa. I recognize the fact that I'm from Mars and she's from Venus. so sometimes the two alien nations have a little friction, but we work it out because of our love for each other and love for our God and our families.
Right. Donna Mims Thompson says what you said, Adrian. It says lead in love. Wow. Awesome phrasing. Danielle Lake says sometimes we're on different frequencies and sometimes we're preparing the answer as we listen, which means we might miss something you're saying. Yeah. Danielle, you're absolutely right. Ken Davis says y'all are going to get in trouble. Behave, Jay. Don't say that, Ken. Don't mess up the interview. In It Together, SC and the Diabetes Action Council present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. I'm Tre Tailor, Damon Turner, Clifford Bartley, Adrian Collier, Abel Bartley, Brian Jones, and Ken Rogers join us today as we commemorate Men's Health Month. We're talking about men and communication. Men, particularly African-American men. And well, before I leave the women conversation, did anyone else have... No.
I will just say this. I'll just say this. I have a wife and two daughters and a female dog.
You got a house full of women.
Yeah, and I often think about that joke that people that they used to tell about this guy, and God said, God give you 3 wishes, and he says, I want $1 million, and his third thing is, I want to bridge across the Atlantic, and build a bridge across the Atlantic. Say, well, okay, well, let me understand women. And God said, well, how about a 2-lane or 4-lane bridge? It's just
I didn't get that.
It's easier to build a bridge.
It's saying that it was easier to build the bridge across the Atlantic than to understand women. But I was just. But my point is, my wife is in her 50s. My daughter's 24. My other daughter is 20. My daughter's 25. My other daughter's 15. So I get all 3 generations of it, and they're different from me in each generation. And so I just have to, I'm becoming more sensitive to the fact that, the old, sucking up doesn't work with women. And so that's the thing that I think sometimes it's hard for us men to recognize, that the old, brush it off, move on. That's not going to work.
Let's talk a little bit as we wrap up the conversation about men and the doctor. And this is a woman conversation too, just the challenge of, men not going to the doctor and taking care of themselves. Are men becoming more conscientious about going to the doctor on a regular basis? And as a woman, how do we lead in love, as you say, Adrian, and try to convince our men we're not nagging. We just want you to go and take care of yourself because we love you. Ken, I want you to chime in as a doctor, a medical doctor.
Well, I've come to the conclusion a long time ago, and my doc, my primary care doc, actually taught me this. He said, you don't want to leave the Willa Rogers behind, because a beautiful woman with a lot of money is a real victim waiting to be had. So one of the things I've always figured out is I better take care of myself so I can stay around a little longer.
Right.
And so, I find myself going to the doctor fairly frequently. And, it's interesting, as I talk to these guys, I don't think that we actually stay away from the doc, because I think that most of us have realized we love living. And part of living is having a temple that is actually functioning well, doing well, and optimally working. And so for me, and for a lot of the men I'm around, I think the stereotype may actually be wrong in many ways. I think
Okay.
there's a subset of guys that don't go to the doc, but I think there are a lot of guys that do.
Mm-hmm. Does anybody else want to chime in? Have any of you had any hesitancy about going to the doctor, or either conflict with, a loved one trying to convince you to take care of your health?
Well, I'll jump in. I do have a little bit because I'm turning 50 next year about some parts of going to the doctor, but I've got men on this line that can have been there and done that, and can walk me through, that thing. But I would say, echo what Dr. Rogers said, it's important to be around for your family, and we all understand that. But one point that he made that was very important here is that I think all six of us on here, and most of the other men on our line, we break the stereotypes of Black men, and so that's one thing that I'm very proud of. All the men that you see are married, one wife. We've been married for some time now. We have kids. We're in the home with our kids. So all of those stereotypes, we go to work every day, all of the stereotypes you hear about Black men, we don't do any of those. We break all of those. So that's one of the things I'm proud of this group for,
Yeah. Ken Davis says that most of you guys are vegan. Is that correct?
No.
Most of them. No, I am. But
I'm vegetarian.
If you eat chicken, then yeah, I'm vegan.
No, that would not be vegetarian. That would be incorrect. That would be incorrect. All right. Ken Rogers, Brian Jones, Damon Turner, Clifford Bartley, Adrian Collier, and Abel Bartley joined us today. They are part of a men's group that meet every Saturday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 5 a.m. for Brian. And they come together and just talk and pray. And speaking of praying, several of you mentioned spirituality. How important is that in your journey?
That is critical. Even within the marriage relationship, when the Bible says, "Can two walk together unless they be agreed?" When we have disagreements, husband and wife, because we love God more than we technically love ourselves, it draws us back together. So every relationship, you have little spats, but you have to have a centering point, and our God is the element that draws us together and keeps us together.
Yeah.
Let me chime in on another thing. I tell them several times, I've said this before, there is really no reason for us to know each other. I mean, I should know my brother, I should know Jamie because he's my student. But what has brought us together is our love for Jesus Christ, and the fact that we met meeting Jesus, and that was the center of a relationship that has become a part of us. I mean, I look at them as just like my brothers. I mean, it's just an extended family, and so spirituality, it is the thing. It is that glue that brought us all together. It's the reason we know each other, because there's no other reason for us to know each other except the fact that we met each other at church.
Right. Yeah. Anybody else want to chime in on what spirituality means to you as a Black man? Adrian?
I think
go ahead. Whoever was getting ready.
Oh, go ahead, Adrian.
Go ahead, Brian.
Okay.
I think you were getting ready to say something.
No, I was going to say it's very important, because the issues that sometimes we bring up each week, it helps me to know that my brothers are praying for those issues. And this coming week, I'll have another testimony of how one of the things that I've asked them to pray for has been answered. So I thank God for these brothers, that I'm able to ask them to pray for certain issues that are going on in my life or with my family members. And just like Adrian said earlier about his mother, it, along with all the other things we mentioned, it is a comfort to be able to come together with these brothers and know that they are there for us spiritually also.
Yeah. Adrian, did you want to chime in?
Yes, I will say it's definitely instrumental, like in my whole well-being, like actually being here, very instrumental. You know, my dad, he used to have this thing always talking about memory lane. My dad, he passed away 2016, but he has this thing called memory lane. And I'm pretty sure everyone on here and all the people who are watching this on YouTube, whatever, Facebook, whatever platform, all the different platforms, can test to. Sorry, I'm getting a call. Let me decline here. Hold on. Sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so I'm sure everyone can testify, can find a particular point in time in life where they was in a situation or a predicament, and they're like, man, I don't know how I got out of that situation.
Right.
I don't know how I got through. I'm still here. I'm sure if everyone, regardless what you believe in, if someone think hard, you go back in memory lane, you're still here for a reason. If you go back in memory lane. So I just attribute to that. I don't believe in just circumstances or things just happen to be osmosis. I don't believe that. I believe in God and my spirituality. I believe everything is designed for a particular reason and purpose. Like, it's not by accident that these group of men, all of us are on here. This is not by circumstance or accident, or us on here talking to you right now. This is not by accident at all.
Yeah. Awesome. Ken also said that you guys are all comedians. Is a sense of humor important also, you think, to just living a good, healthy, productive life?
Absolutely.
Yes. Absolutely. Well,
Yes.
one thing I'd like to throw in, Trey, is you were talking about spirituality earlier, but I think there's spirituality, but also the Bible. So one of the things that we try to do every week is to find a male character in the Bible that we can think about. And
cool.
and see what you can learn. So if we look at the life of Joseph, for example, not Joseph, if you look at David, you've got a guy who's screwed up when it comes to his relationship, his marriage, his family, murdered a guy, did all kind of disobedient, crazy things, had kids that acted out. There's a lot of things that you can learn to do differently or to do the same. And so part of what we've used is the Bible is really a resource for how do we live our lives? What are the things that we want to emphasize? What are the things we want to try to avoid? And how can we use those lessons to really avoid some of the things that frequently take men down?
Wow. I love that. So Abel, the call opens with what? Prayer, and then, as Ken said, does it then go to the guy, the story of the Bible story, the man in the Bible that you want to study?
No, actually, it starts with prayer, and then we have testimonies. Each person, we talk about what God has done for us this week, and then we open it up with the character. This week we'll be talking about Aaron. So each week and what we find is that it's hard to find a very good father figure in the Bible, because we all human, and all the people in the Bible were human. I mean, and even when they did it right, their kids sometimes screwed it up. Sometimes they did it wrong, and their kids came. And so we're real as fathers. I'll be first. None of us. I'm not a perfect, but none of us are perfect fathers, and we've got kids that just
are not perfect either.
We wind them up, we put them on the right path, and somehow they fail. But we recognize the fact that we still have a responsibility as fathers, and we recognize the fact that we're not perfect, and we give ourselves a break. I mean, you do the best. My mom, you say, do the best you can, and the Lord help you with the rest. And that's what we've learned, all of us.
Yeah. How many guys are on the call every week?
Between 12 and 16.
Are you open for other people to come on, or is it? Do you just
love for other people to get on?
All right. So if there's a man that is watching or listening and it's interested, because a couple of guys said that they thought, this was a great idea, how and who can they contact?
Send me their email address. I'll add them to the weekly. I send out an email. I send out on Tuesday, and I tell them who we're going to be studying. I send a reminder on Friday.
All right, Abel, Charity, if we can get Abel's information, that's Abel's information. His email address is on there if you are interested in joining this group of phenomenal men who are meeting every Saturday morning at 8 a.m.
8 to 9:15.
8 to 9:15 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah.
And you can be from wherever, all over the world. Contact them, and you can see Abel's information on the screen, and they would love to have you. Abel Bartley, thank you so much, not only for putting this together, but for joining us today. Ken, my friend, thank you so much for sharing. He talks about you guys a lot. He's been on the show several times and talks about how instrumental this group has been to him and for him. And I'm so glad. Thank you, Ken, for finally being able to put everybody together. Adrian Collier, Clifford Bartley, Brian Jones, and Damon Turner. Guys, thank you so much for sharing your hearts today. Thank you so much for knowing how important it is to come together as men, to communicate, to break the stereotype and stigma attached and surrounding men who don't talk, who don't communicate, who don't connect with each other. It's so important, and you guys are definitely doing some amazing things. Good luck to you. God bless, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Peace, love, and
Thank you,
hair.
Thanks,
Thank you so much. Once again, if you would like more information on this group of gentlemen that meet every Saturday morning, you can see Abel Bartley's information on the screen, or of course, you can inbox us here at the show. If you have a story or initiative that can help someone cope with COVID, please email booking at copingwithtretailer.com, booking at copingwithtretailer.com. If you have a product or service that can help someone cope with COVID, email copingwithtretailer.com. We would love for you to be a proud sponsor, just like In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council. They sponsor Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with COVID. We're also sponsored by Black Expo, Black Pages, the Comet Bus System, Agape Counseling and Training Services, the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office, Attorney Byron Gibson, and Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. Now, tomorrow, how to talk to your kids about tragedy. So much has been going on. How are you communicating with your young children? Aaron Ashford with Transcendence Counseling, Coaching, and Consulting will join us, along with Jeff Williams, Director of Behavioral Care at Prisma Health. How to talk to your young kids about tragedy. And then Friday, a Faith Friday story about Prince Panaford, a former realtor, current restaurateur. He has an amazing vegan and Caribbean / African style restaurant in the village of Sand Hills in Columbia, South Carolina. It's called Mimsy's Restaurant. We'll talk to him and taste some amazing food coming up on Coping with Tre Tailor. That's coming up on Friday. As usual, I leave you with a spiritual reading. We've been reading Conversations with God from Cheryl Mims Williams, who I talked to today with Agape Counseling and Training Services. Yeah, I got my counseling session in today. This says, "My child, read my word. I want you to have a listening ear and meditate on my word. Don't ever forget how important you are to me and how important you are to the plan. Always know that I am in you and you are in me." God says, read the word and listen and meditate and know that you are important to him. This is Conversations with God from Cheryl Mims Williams with Agape Counseling and Training Services. It is a series of her journal readings and also of her scriptural readings, and it's such a great devotional. Excellent show, Trey. Thank you. Thank you, Danielle, so much for watching. Donna Mims Williams says, thanks, Trey. Thank you. Beautiful. I appreciate you. Listen, thank you guys so much for joining us today on Wellness Wednesday from In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council. Until the next time, I wish you peace and abundant blessings. Take care. God bless. Stay well. And COVID is still alive and well. So please don't forget to wear your mask if you're inside, over your nose and under your chin. Take care. Love you much.
Coping, find peace of mind to survive through whatever. Coping, learning the way that we thrive all together. Coping, finding out what's real. Coping, we can heal, we can heal, we can heal. growing, learning what you can do. 6 ways to a better you.